Hey guys!
Welcome back to the Society Podcast with Kim and Ruby.
Today we're going to go in depth on vaccines and how they work. This is a super relevant topic for our show, seeing that we're in the middle of a pandemic.
So we all know how wearing masks and distancing helps slow the spread of the virus. But does anyone really know how the virus spreads and how our vaccines work to stop us from getting sick? Anyone? I didn't think so.
Okay, so let's get into it.
So I'm pulling it up right now, and it seems like viruses are disease-causing agents.
Like spies?
Viruses like COVID-19 seem to affect the body by attaching to our cells.
How do they do that?
Parts of the virus called spike protein latch onto the cell receptors like Velcro. So the virus then releases its own RNA into the cell that makes the cell produce the virus.
That's so weird. So our body creates the infection? Okay, so without vaccines, how does our own body deal with the infections?
Our body would usually release its own immune cells to combat the virus.
Oh, how cool! Oh, what a great segue to how vaccines are made.
How smooth! Looks like it's time for our sponsor.
We're grateful for our sponsors today, Bingus and Bongus Masks. They sell high-quality masks at low prices. Go to their site, bingusbongus.com, and use our code SOCIETY at checkout.
Okay, back to our show. So we just covered how viruses work. Now how do vaccines work? Vaccines work in various ways, but most usually work by introducing a weakened or dead version of the virus to the body. This will introduce an antigen to the body that will aid in building up our immunity.
This is why it's so important to get your vaccine. If we all get our vaccines, we build up herd immunity. This helps protect those without immunity by making sure most of the population is immune. Earlier in this pandemic, experts thought our threshold for herd immunity should be about 60 to 70%, but now they're rethinking that.
How are vaccines developed? The steps for creating a vaccine consist of generating the antigen, releasing the antigen from the cell and isolating it, purifying it, strengthening, and distributing. During this process, you have to test to make sure that your vaccine is safe to distribute, which can take months.
Once created, this vaccine has to be approved by the FDA, who are responsible for protecting the public health of individuals. This approval needs 6 months of data and another 6 months of reviewing by the FDA to ensure the safety of those injected with vaccines.
How cool! So far we've had 3 vaccines approved, right?
Yeah, we have Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. Oh, and I also heard about the other one that's being in the process for approval. BioNTech, I think?
Oh, I forgot to ask earlier. Which one did you have?
Oh, I have Pfizer.
Oh, me too. I got mine as soon as it became available to me.
Me too.
How does the rest of the world look right now? Well, it looks like countries like the US are having a pretty successful time with their vaccines.
Wow.
According to the New York Times, we have 1.43 billion doses administered so far.
This seems like a great number, but let's look a little closer. Looks like many countries in the global south have very low levels of vaccinations so far. North America has about 30 times the doses administered compared to Africa. Unfortunately, developing countries and even low-income areas of the U.S. lack the funding and infrastructure in order to administer vaccines.
Even in the U.S., earlier this year we could see many low-income areas having very limited access to the vaccines.
Right, we saw many cases of people from outside the areas coming in to take up the vaccination slots. I remember when they first started administering vaccines in the U.S. Didn't they start with all healthcare workers?
They sure did. Then they moved to people 65 and older, then teachers, those who are immunocompromised, and now they have gradually moved down by age. Even those who are 12 through 15 can now get their vaccine.
Isn't it crazy how COVID-19 has affected our lives? First having to quarantine in our homes, and now distancing and wearing masks to protect ourselves and others from this virus. It's almost like this is our new normal.
Thanks to the production of all these new vaccines, we are able to slowly return to how we were before this shift. We are constantly receiving updates from the CDC, giving us valuable information about our safety and how we can stop the spread.
I sure do trust the CDC. They've controlled and eliminated viruses in our country for decades. Seeing all this progress with vaccinations and administering doses makes me hope things will go back to normal soon.
If you have any questions regarding any information we have shared today, please feel free to reach out to us.
Goodbye, and please join us for next week's episode of Society with Kim and Ruby.